CaneSport TV, we're here with Cody Woodiel, the tight ends coach at the U, and it's going to be a little different this year, no Arroyo anymore, but you've got some talent in that room to develop, and I imagine one or two of those guys are going to find their way into the offense this year. Just give us an overview first, and then I'm going to ask you a little bit about some of the specific guys.
Yeah, obviously, like you stated, right, you lose, especially, I look at it, you lost, Elijah Arroyo, Cam McCormick, two really veteran seasoned guys, and ultimate players and teammates, and but we were fortunate a couple of the guys that we had in the room got to see those guys on a daily basis work, and they've established that foundation and living up to that standard and handling their business like professionals. So I'm excited to see those guys get their opportunities now, and all the hard work they put in, this off seasons. We still got a lot of work to do, going into fall camp, but really excited for those guys. As Elijah Loftton, right? He comes to mind, right, with him being what he's done for us and the small sample size of what he put on film last year. Then you bring in a guy like Balman that has unbelievable experience and leadership, and the rapport he's developed with his teammates been awesome to see. Then the list goes on and on from guys like Owen Ruskovich that's been in the program for a while, that's an elite worker. Then you bring in some young talented players as Rockshot, Luka Gilbert, and every guy in the room is going to have an opportunity to prove themselves over the next couple practices, and it's going to be exciting to see how it shapes up. So
I want to talk about Loftton,
because
I look at that guy and I'm like, man, this kid, I don't know what his role is going to be, and we wouldn't want to talk about that anyway or whatever. But they use Swiss Army knife. He is the ultimate. He might be one of the best couple football players on this roster. How does he fit into what you guys do offensively?
Yeah, and in our world, right, he's a traditional tight end. I know he doesn't fit the build of the 6'5", 6'6" tight ends of the world, right? But that's what he does for us, right? And he is a guy that, truthfully, you probably heard. I've said this before. He's the most unique football player I've ever coached. He could probably play or start at a couple other different positions, right? In football, which is kind of crazy to say, right? You don't really hear that often, right? So, and he's just a guy hungry and ready for his opportunity, as far as how he'll be used and stuff like that, time will tell on that. And again, for whether it's Elijah or anybody else in the room, right, these next 30 days before we kick off the season, and as even we prepare through the season, right, that's how you carve a role for yourself, right? The performance you put on the field is what you ultimately judge by. So, and he's a guy that's eager and he's biting at the bits for the opportunity. So, excited to see him get to work.
Does he kind of prove that you don't have to be built like Arroyo to play tight end?
I think he's an outlier a little bit. Obviously there's some, from a length standpoint, from a height standpoint, he's more of a traditional H-back.
He's an H-back,
body, but his arm length and his wingspan are huge. People don't really know that. And how powerful he is and his contact balance, because he can literally do anything you ask a modern tight end to do. He doesn't get outmatched because he does have great arm length and great power. So for us, he's just different. Like I said before, he's just one of those guys that you can honestly say he's different than anybody you've ever coached. So it's very unique. So
well, if you went to an NFL GM and they hadn't seen him play or anything, and you said this guy's going to be your next tight end, they would look at you like you're out of your mind.
Yeah, no doubt, until you turn the tape on, for sure.
And in college football, it's a little different. You could take somebody like that and mold them into what you need them to be.
100%. Yeah, that's hard. That's why they call you coach, right?
Yeah.
It's your job to put your players in the best position to be successful, right? And I think we found that recipe for him. And again, he's got a lot of work to do and keep growing, but because he still has a lot of football to play in his future. So I'm excited to see how he takes those next steps and continue to polish his game like he wants to do and like we all want to do here. So I'm excited for him.
Yeah, it's fun to coach a guy like that, though.
100%. He's eager.
He's eager, and he's going to make you look good.
100%, no doubt. So.
All right, so Alex Balman comes in the transfer portal. What's his role?
And again, and this goes for anybody, right? We had 1,200 snaps, roughly 1,200, 1,300 snaps last year as a tight end group, right? And we're returning at the University of Miami 165, right? So for whether it's Elijah, Alex, anybody I've named, right, or anybody in our room, what we do moving forward is ultimately going to carve that role for yourself. And Alex is a guy that's veteran enough, and he's been around football long enough, he understands that. So based off his performance over these next month or so will be ultimately the deciding factor on that. But he's a guy, if you talk about his skill set, he's a guy that can play at the line of scrimmage and match up really well with some. If you obviously know our edge players here, and he has no trouble with it, right? He's a very experienced player on that aspect of it. And he has elite ball skills, right? Elite arm length, and build a high point to football if you really go watch some of his tape in the past. So I'm excited to see him put that on display, because he's a guy that truthfully, he is your traditional kind of do everything tight end. So he's really, anything we've asked him to do so far physically, he's checked every box for us. So, but excited for him to continue and grow, because he's made some physical growth. I think he played last year around 240. This year he'll play in the 250. So I'm excited to see that kind of that physical maturity that's coming with it, being his fourth year of college, to see how that translates to the field. So. And
then you got the two young guys. You look at Luka Gilbert, and you're like, wow, like you could see what he can be. And I guess Bruckshot's more like your traditional H-back type of player, but also playing tight end, obviously. What kind of future do you think those two kids have here?
And I told somebody the sky's the limit for those guys. And they're exactly what we want in our football program when we go out and we hit the road and we go look for players. I mean, from a mentality and maturity, from an intangible standpoint, they're as good as it gets, right? Then you see them in person and you see the physical maturity of it. That's the reason why, because they take this very seriously. They're very competitive. And like I said before, the sky's the limit for both those guys. Obviously, you see them in stature, right? Luka's 6'7", he's going to play. He'll play in the 260s, and I think in the future he'll be a 270-pound guy when it's all said and done.
Wow.
He was 230, 240 in high school.
Better watch out. Mirrorball might grab him.
I know. He's too athletic for that, so we'll tell the big boys that. But no, he again, it's for both those guys. And then you see Brock, right? Like he'll break every record in the weight room for us here in the tight end world. And you're talking about some freakishly athletic people that have came through here. His skill set for what he does is, and again, both of those guys, we're going to ask those guys to do everything, but the sky's the limit for both of them. And truthfully, the foundation of what they do from a work ethic standpoint and mentality is why they're going to be great football players. I can confidently say that. So, is
there a role for them this year?
Like I said earlier, like I said, I told you the snap count, right? We're in the prove it part of the season right now, right? Again, you don't lose all those snaps that we had in the room, right? And there's opportunity for everybody, right? So again, what we do over these next couple weeks will ultimately carve our role as a position group and carve their individual role, right? And it's slowly based off performance. So whoever goes out there and performs at the highest levels will be the first guy to step on the field, whether that's Elijah Loftton, that's or Alex, right? The two guys everybody's talking about, or somebody else in the room. If they step up and capture that momentum and that role, then they'll be the guy to walk out there and go play. So it's an open competition. So,
all right, man, we're looking forward to it.
No doubt, man.
Thanks for the input.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no doubt.